up, my dad would take me to the store and buy me a couple of Spider-Man comic books, and I just loved them. I gravitated towards like the stories and the art, and would try to copy how to draw little figures and panels. Started to make my own characters and just kind of grew from there. My name is Stephen McArdle. I'm a comic book artist and writer, I guess a cartoonist. I create the characters, I do the artwork, do the black and white and color art. I did some self-publishing when I started off. I'm working with a publisher now, and I've been doing this for about 25 years. I try to take all my influences and kind of combine it into one thing, so it's not just one thing like Marvel Comics. It's fantasy art, it's album cover art. I guess it sort of fits the term outlaw comics. It's nothing, X-rated or anything like that. I don't even really put four-letter words in the comic books, but it's just sort of a outsider sort of style of art and storytelling. I do everything old school: paper, pens, pencils, inks, brushes, no computers, no AI. I come up with a story. I go from that into a script, almost like a movie script, so you could like act it out as like a play. I break that down into little thumbnail sketches, like a storyboard of what the story is going to be. Lay it out into all the pages, pencils, then the inks, do the lettering, color covers. When I started back in the 90s, I was working in a print shop. So I did even the first few issues I did of Vendetta, I did the printing myself. Collated them, trimmed them, stapled them, folded them. I used to do comic conventions in the 90s, and people would say, what part of the book do you do? And sort of as a joke, I'd say, well, I do every part of this book, including the staples. And so I have notebooks everywhere. I just write down ideas. It might be the name of a character. It might be a story idea. It might be a character, like costume design. And then I just sort of brainstorm and try to put the pieces together almost like a puzzle until I've got, oh, that's a good story. Let me add a little more to this or that. I've got another character, maybe I could bring him or her in and add that into it. And just kind of sort of snowball, build on it. Yeah, Frank Frazetta, fantasy art. I liked all the comics growing up, the mainstream stuff. By the 80s, I started getting into like the more independent comics, Ninja Turtles, The Crow, Dead World. There's a lot of independent stuff then. It was inspiring to see creators that didn't have huge companies or huge budgets, just self-publishing. So that was a big impetus too, to like have the nerve to self-publish. Boy, by the 90s, we had guys like Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee coming in, and I was blown away by just the quality of the art, and like you said, how much detail and stuff was in it. My dad would read comics back in the day. He liked Shazam and Plastic Man. And I remember showing him that X-Men #1 in the 90s, Jim Lee with the wraparound cover, and just showing him like how far comic art had come from the old days of the 40s and the 50s. And he was blown away too. He's like, wow, every page looks like this? So that was an inspiration too, and I try to, I guess we all sort of recreate the stuff we're inspired by. But it's a lot of it is hard, because you're using all of your skills, perspective, anatomy, storytelling, and then, like I said, I try to put as many details and things into it. So every panel I try to really put as much thought and time into. So, I put hours and hours, just one page of comics. You multiply that by 22, 24 pages plus a cover. I spent months and months and months to make one book. I always felt like I wasn't good enough. I went to a convention in the 90s in New York. It was a huge convention at the Javits Center. And I remember having my samples under my arm of the Vendetta #1 pages. and going and showing them to editors. And I could tell right away, I was like, I'm not good enough to work at Marvel or DC yet. I may never be good enough to work at Marvel or DC, but at least I'll create my own thing, and then maybe that will give me my own little place to put my, flag on the earth. You don't always have to be necessarily the best artist or writer, but if you got something unique, you go, oh, that's so-and-so, I recognize their work. I think that to me is important, and hopefully that's what I'm trying to do. I found this as an issue more recently. The character is called Vendetta, Holy Vindicator. And so I thought, like, what can I make to make a superhero different? There's a million superheroes with boots and capes and masks. So I just thought, well, what if he was like, he had a religious aspect to him? So it's a dark story, it's street action, but in the middle of that, I'll have him quote the Bible. Just little passages where it sort of ties into what's happening in the story. And I didn't really think that much about it. It was just like, I just want to make the character different. And now when people see the character Vendetta, Holy Vindicator, I think some people think either I'm trying to push religion, or I'm trying to mock religion, or I'm a very devout religious person, which it's none of those. I'm just trying to make something entertaining, something fun, something a little bit different. And I think it might get misconstrued nowadays. Because everyone goes, well, why was he religious? I go, well, that's just because he was born, and that's how he was raised. And back in the 90s, when I first did this, I got all kinds of letters. Some people questioning if I was trying to make it like a religious comic book, which it's not. And then I got a couple letters from some pastors and some Christian leaders that they loved the book and thought it was good and that it was a superhero and he quoted the Bible. Nowadays, I've done a few interviews and people are, so what's up, Steve? You're a born again or whatever? And I'm like, no, I want to do something, try to make a comic book that was fun and something different. But I guess maybe at some point in the story, maybe I'll address it more to explain it deeper. But at the time, it was just to make him unique. I don't really get into political stuff. I just try to make a good versus evil, and hopefully the good wins. That was kind of the message I took out of comic books. No matter what it may look like on the surface, my superhero's ugly, right? His face is scarred, but he's a good person. And so I guess it would be not to judge a book by its cover or people by the way they look, and just to try to have a positive outlook on it. I put so many hours into every book. Vendetta #1 is probably the most significant because it was the first book I actually finished. I didn't know if I could actually be able to do one comic book. I thought if I could do one, I can do two, then I could do, and so forth. The Artillery one-shot is like a one single book, complete story. I'm real proud of that too. I like the way the drawings came out on it. The Vendetta trade paperback came out a couple years ago that reprinted the early stuff. It did pretty well, and so I just wanted to continue. I felt like after all these years, the ball dropped out of the sky into my hands. I was like, I'm just going to keep running. I want to do more comics. I want to come up with more stories. I want to do more art. And so I was able to continue. We did the Crowbar 9 book. It was a series I never got to complete back in the 90s. That did well. And then I said to the guy at Floating World, how about new Vendetta? I got all new ideas. Let's do a new Vendetta 5. So we did that. Just the beginning of this year, we published Vendetta #6. I'm working on #7 now. I've got it plotted out to #8. We'll come to a soft sort of conclusion. And then from there, I don't know if I'm going to do Vendetta 9. I might do another single book of another character, another story. But just keep going, come up with new ideas, and not to repeat myself. I feel really lucky that I've had an opportunity to publish the books and people have received them well. So I thank you to everybody that's supported, written. I'm getting all kinds of incredible fan art. So the new issues of Vendetta have fan art in the back, Vendetta and the other characters that people have sent in. But it's great. It makes me feel good, and yeah, it's a great medium. It's sort of the predecessor to movies, because you can take your raw ideas and very cheaply write it and draw it and make exactly what you want people to see. And like I said, I've got printer's ink in my blood. I like it. It's part of who I am. I love music too. So there's a rock, heavy metal kind of aesthetic that goes into my stuff too. But again, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I just feel very lucky to be able to do it again. All the stuff comes out through Floating World Comics now. Jason's a great guy, they're a great publisher. He's got a store up in Portland. They publish some great comic books. They're putting out new stuff, they're putting out great old stuff that people didn't get to see the first time. You can contact them through their website. All my books, I've also got a little eBay store, Steve Knievel Collectibles.